So there's a look at the White House tonight, where the president is no doubt thinking about whether or not he's going to sign this immigration compromise deal that was reached by Republicans and Democrats and avoid another shutdown, which could happen as soon as Friday. Among other things, this new deal would allocate $1,375,000 for 55 miles of new wall, new fence, whatever you want to call it, along the southern border. But now there may be another deal on the table. The president tweeted this moments ago, which just presented the concept and parameters of the border security deal by hardworking Senator Richard Shelby. Looking over all aspects, knowing that this will be hooked up with lots of money from other sources, we'll be getting almost $23 billion for border security. Regardless of wall money, it is being built as we speak. Here now with the inside story, two congressmen involved in the border deal negotiations, Republican Tom Reed and Democrat John Garamendi. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. Congressman Reed, let me start with you. What do you think? What does he mean by that? What does the president mean by that?
Yeah, I think what the president's looking at is the money that's in the appropriations process, not to get too inside D.C., but this is money that can be reprogrammed, that can be looked at for national security use. And I think what the president's doing is coupling this deal with those resources and committing the first priority that we should all be, protecting our border.
Now, Tom, you and I have been working together in harmony, but that's not a harmonious statement. Those additional money beyond the 1.3 are projects that have already been appropriated, and these are civil works projects and military construction projects that were deemed by Congress, by the military, by communities across America that were necessary to recover from the various disasters and to prevent flooding in the future. In my own area, it's about $2.5 billion of absolutely essential flood control programs.
Let me ask you both this, Congressman Reed, you start. Would the money that the president is talking about take away from disaster relief or rebuilding money? Is that true?
Yeah, there's different pots of money that could be reprogrammed and put towards border security, not just at the border, but across the whole spectrum of border security. So, I understand the concern that John's raising. It's a legitimate concern, but this money is on the table, and let's put it to use to protect our fellow American citizens.
Tom, we've worked so closely together, but the reality is that money has been appropriated for specific projects. Some $4 billion in Houston, Texas, to repair the levees and the dams in Houston. Another $2 billion in Puerto Rico. Money in Florida, money in California. All of it absolutely essential to protect lives in the communities all across the nation. Could the president do it? He'd have to declare a national emergency. To do so, at least in the Army Corps of Engineers, there is some military construction projects that have in the past been reallocated for work in Afghanistan and Iraq. But once again, all of these are deemed to be highest priority by local communities, by states, as well as by the military.
But really, in the scheme of things, the gap that exists between the $5.7 billion that he wanted and the 1.3, close to 1.4 that is in this deal could potentially be closed with transfer authority funds that are taken from some other projects and moved as the money is moved around. Are you saying, John Garamendi, that would that be a deal breaker for you if that gap was closed that way?
Well, I think it's a 1-2 punch. The first punch would be the signing of the current legislation that has been the compromise by the committee. The second punch would come later. But I will tell you, there will be a huge outcry, and there'll be lawsuits left, right, and center.
Because you don't want the border to be secure?
No, not at all. I want people to be protected with these flood control projects, with the disaster relief money, that we have already held the hearings, made the determination that these projects are essential for the protection of life throughout the United States.
Last quick thought, Congressman Reed.
But I think the first step needs to be recognized, and I think that's where there's agreement here. Let's avert a shutdown, move this issue of the $1.3 billion that we've agreed to, that seems to be a reasonable proposal that I can support, and then move on to this other issue. But first and foremost, let's take care of this.
Would Republican support for this bill fall apart if the president sticks to his word there?
Well, I think there's support from a center-out approach on this compromise, because I think there's many of us who want to avert a shutdown, get the money going to the border to secure the border, as well as border security improvements elsewhere, which is also going to be.
Let me add just one thing here. One thing here is that the process of legislation goes forward. This is not the end of the process. If the president has projects that he thinks are critically important, come to the legislature, and we'll talk about funding those things. And it's quite possible some, or maybe all of them, would be funded.
All right. Congressman Garamendi and Congressman Reed, good to have both of you with us tonight. Come back. Hope you'll come back. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good to see you tonight.